Good evening, everyone. Yes, it's still me on my own trying to do a broadcast. Not going to apologize because I think the biggest hurdle that I've had is this audio, and I don't know, I believe that's the one thing I think I fixed. It is Sunday, and 26th of April. A lot has been going on in, in the last week, honestly. A crazy amount of things are going on. As you know, we are pushing for signatures on an initiative called the Declaration of Remembrance. And we're asking for one signature for every fallen hero, uh, 1.4 million signatures. I don't know why that's so difficult, but it seems that it is. And we've got a lot of signatures. I can't tell you exactly what the number is. We have a lot of signatures, but nowhere near uh, the 1.4 million that should be out there. I mean, those of you who are listening to me, those of you who follow the mission, I mean, put your name out there. It's a simple thing. Let's remember that sacrifice. Let's remember that these men and women did everything for us, and really all we're trying to do is show that there's a show of support. It's as simple as that. It's not that difficult. So if you haven't signed the Declaration of Remembrance already, please sign it, share it. Let's get these signatures. We're in our 250th anniversary, and we didn't get here without the sacrifice of lives, the sacrifice of those lives who didn't get to be here to enjoy what we enjoy every single day. I mean, that they fought and died for to give to us, and what's the very least that we can do is be appreciative. And this evening, I'm not going to go into a lot of heavy stuff. Although we are working on legislation, I am still, as an organization, we're working on a signed bill, on Memorial Day of this year, our 250th anniversary. And what better day, what better time in our country's history? And we're working very diligently to make that a reality. Will it happen? I don't know. I don't even know what our percentages is of that happening, but I do know that if we miss that, if this country misses that window, it'll be a tragic miss, honestly, because we are at a significant milestone, in our country, and this would make a significant statement. And I talked a little bit about this last week, I believe. It's hard to know with so much happening, but I talked a little bit about family relations, right, and the breadth of family relations, and how many family members are in a family, and all of who would be affected, with this messaging of remembrance. I spoke on Saturday to a Gold Star Mothers meeting, at a Gold Star Mothers meeting, a district meeting in the state of Virginia. And there were a number of moms there from many generations, from many casualty types. And there was also, we were on one of the local Navy bases. So we had an admiral there, several commanders, base commanders, uh, just a number of flag officers, as we were, it was a meeting for the mothers, and I was privileged to be able to speak. And, one of the things that I think is most important, I mean, this is the reason why this flag was created. The flag was created to establish a national symbol of remembrance. I mean, that was the whole reason for the organization, to establish a national symbol of remembrance. And this is the void that we've been missing. We have a POW MIA flag. we need to have a KIA flag. Not that the honor and remember flag is strictly KIA, it's not. It's while serving or as a result of serving. But to make that point, we need a flag that recognizes those that didn't get to come home, that left their families, that came home in a different way, right? And the families that are still here grieving need to be recognized. I mean, we're even acknowledging and honoring the MIA families as well, because their families are KIA, their family members. And so there's been this void in this country. This is the whole reason why establishing this flag is so important, is because there's been a void, and this flag completes a circle of tribute, right? U.S. flag for our nation and our geography, our unity, our diversity. POW/MIA flag to remember those that were captured or missing and needed to be returned home, and then those that gave their lives, the millions who have given their lives in one fashion or another, that have given everything, but they're not here to enjoy the freedoms. They're not here to even know whether we remember them or not, but their families are. And those family units just, those boundaries just, extend and extend and extend. But let me explain a little bit about, now I'm going to get into the flag and the creation of the flag a little bit, but let me explain the importance of the messaging, right? For all of you who are out there who are doing wonderful things for the Gold Star community, right? That wonderfulness that you're doing, whatever it may be, has limitations. Everything has limitations. But I've said this many times, there's only so many houses you can build. There are only so many scholarships you can give. There are only so many bridges you can name, roads, post offices. There's a finite number. And so there's limitations, because we all only have so many resources to deal with and to disseminate. And so when you define the term Gold Star, what is that definition to you? I ask you to define it, in your own heart, in your own organization, in your own outreach. Where is that limitation? Are you speaking to parents? Are you speaking to mothers only? Are you speaking to fathers? Are you speaking to wives? Are you speaking to husbands who have lost their wives? Are you speaking to children? How wide do you cast that net? And it doesn't matter to me. You can cast it as wide as you want, but it has to be so far. And so where do you cast it? Do you include cousins, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles? It's not possible. It really is physically not possible. So how do you define it, and who do you include? That's important, because your initiative may be limited to whatever it is that you can reasonably achieve. And there's no fault in that. It's just a fact that we all have to look at, no matter what it is. A weekend away, a fishing tournament, a hunting trip, whatever that may be. There's limitations. There's only so many free tickets to a ball game. I mean, it's just reality. And so how do you define that? And as I was looking at that, in my own sphere, and realizing that even as a Gold Star, I mean, there is a official definition, according to the Department of Defense, Department of War. There is an official definition. We may not all agree with it, but there is an official definition, and some people would die on their sword for that definition. But if you think about it, that means who can hang the Gold Star banner on their windows, who can wear the Gold Star lapel pin or the next of kin pin, who is eligible to actually wear that. It's not every family member in this whole, geographic boundary. This is not. I mean, that's just not the way it was defined. And so what you have is you've got this enormous amount of of familial unit that is not being recognized. They're not being able to send that message. As I was talking to the moms and to the leadership the other day, I was saying that the message that is sent by the lapel pin and the banner is only for the Gold Star families to send. And that message is that, hey, I lost a loved one. So I put it on my window, on my door, and if anybody even knows what it means, most don't. That's a whole nother initiative, right? You're never going to get everybody educated. Not even our own military are completely educated. But go back to, let's say everybody knew. And back in World War I, when it started, a lot more people did. There's only so many eligible family members that are able to send that message, to wear that pin, whatever that might be. And so that leaves everybody else out, the grandparents, the grandchildren, the whoever, might be on the fringes of that. I'm trying to make a point. And so as the neighbors are going by those houses of those who are eligible, they are seeing that the families are sending a message to them, to their neighbors, that they have lost a loved one in service, military service. So that's an important option that we have. Not every family even does it, right? Because I've talked to you about the types of families and whether they want to be known or not known. And so not everybody even does it, but those that are doing it are sending a message to their neighbors, to the strangers who go by their house, or maybe, seal a lapel pin or whatever, that they've lost a loved one. There's no way in America for us to send a message back to them individually that we remember, that we recognize their sacrifice, that we remember their loss. No way in America that we as individuals. Now, there's a lot of things out there, and there's a lot of programs that are out there, but we have monuments, we have whatever initiatives there are, right? But as an individual, to send a message to a family member, one of those extended families that we may never know, we may never meet, there's no way of messaging them and saying, thank you, I haven't forgotten. And you may know one, and you may be talking to them all the time. You may know 5. If you're part of an organization, you may know 100, you may know 1,000. But there's no way of knowing them all. No way. But there is a way of sending a message to them all. As an individual with a flagpole on my street, I can send a message to everybody that drives by, whether I know them or not, whether they've had a loss or not, regardless of generation. I am sending a message to them that I have not forgotten. That's powerful. It's an opportunity for each one of us to individualize, through our homes, through our businesses, through our churches, through our community, through our BSOs, through what our businesses, through whatever means we have available to us to fly a flag, hang a flag. We are now sending that message. We are part of that community messaging system that is now sending that message to every single family member who doesn't have a Gold Star banner or a lapel pin, who isn't even in that chain of Gold Star community remembrance. It's the only way in America to actually reach every single solitary one of those individuals. I don't know that I can explain that any more passionately or any deeply, because of the breadth and the enormous territory that covers, and the amount of individuals that reaches. There's no other way I know of to do that, because it allows you to individualize and be a part of that messaging, a part of that communication of appreciation. And you know how important it is to appreciate. I mean, if it was your family, your next door neighbor, not your family, but your next door neighbor whose loved one had passed, and you knew them, you were close to them, you would do everything you could for them to let them know you haven't forgotten. And so we're giving you an opportunity to send that same message to every single family, Gold Star and extended family in America, who you'll never know. And I I honestly don't understand why that shouldn't be important to everybody, because you didn't have to send your loved one to die for freedom's cause, because somebody else did that for you. And because somebody else did that for you, the least we should do is be appreciative and be thankful. So let me tell you a little bit about the flag. You know, I went through, sorry, my nose itches. I went through the process of, trying to come up with the idea, trying to convince somebody to do it, trying to get somebody else to believe that this was important to the families, because the one thing families want more than anything, I say it over and over, and I don't want anybody to forget, is what? They want their loved one to be remembered. They want to not be forgotten. That's it. That's all they want. And if you care about Gold Star families and you know that that's all they want, then let's help give it to them. Let's help give it to them. Anyway, so I got to the point where I knew that a flag needed to exist. I didn't know what it would look like. I didn't know anything about it, about that process. I mean, I've created projects in my time. And, when I felt God say to me, if you think it's important, you need to do it. This isn't arrogance, guys. This is just fact. This is something I took on, and it's way out of my comfort zone. And I just thought it was important, and I thought it needed to exist. And so I took it on. I couldn't get anybody else to do it. I tried. But what would that flag look like? What would be on it? I didn't know. So just in my mindset of knowing what it takes to put a project together, I just started researching. I started to research, iconic symbolism of what might, and I'm not going to go do a long drawn out explanation because we don't have that much time. But I just started looking at iconic symbolism, folded flags, eternal flames, blue star, gold star, those kinds of elements. And that's what I did. I narrowed it all down to a few. I mean, I looked at all kinds of different symbolic things, metals and ribbons and colors, and a lot of different areas that I thought would be important. And I settled on the color, the field of red, American flag red, a field of white, purity of sacrifice. You can see the flag behind me. I'll put it up on the screen. The blue star in the center, back to World War I. The gold star, we all assimilate. It's not supposed to be the gold star, as you would see in accordance to the DoD, but is a representation that says, hey, gold represents a life lost, a precious life. A folded flag and eternal flames, and the words honor and remember. And I believe that honor and remember, came to me, God inspired in a dream, and I believed it was the exact right wording to put on this flag. And I wanted this flag not to be a grieving dad's kind of like, I don't know, tossed attempt, at putting something together. But what I wanted to create was something that when people saw it, they would go, yeah, that could be a national symbol. I believe that it could be. So I wanted it to be professional from the very beginning. Everything I did, I tried to make professional as possible, right from the get-go, because I didn't want any scrutiny. I wanted to be totally transparent. And so, those elements coming together, I'm going to just read a little bit out of the book, Tragedy to Tribute. And I think I told you that a little bit about well, it's in the book. I don't think I told you, you guys who are following this, but, my son is a graphic artist. He worked for a graphic company, a high-end graphic company. I put all my elements together and I put them in kind of a form that I wanted them to appear, but I didn't know how to polish it and to make it look, just as professional as I could. So I sent it to them to work on, and they gave me back several versions of which, I had to look through, and I took them to a general who was in the line of command for my son, and I pushed them all aside, all to over to him at at um, at lunch one day. He pushed them all back and said, "No, you decide. You decide what this national symbol would look like, and everyone will embrace that." And so I'm going to read just a couple of pages out of the book, starting with that kind of pushing back of, General Morris. So this is chapter 7 of Tragedy to Tribute. I saw such wisdom in what General Morris had said. I'll put my glasses on. Sorry, guys. Not because I wanted to be the sole decision maker and creator of this sacred project, but because it would eventually be my child. In the end, who is going to be the better champion of this than I? This was my life now. It has become not what I do, but who I am. I followed the general's suggestions. I made the final flag decision. Kenny's team at Capacity gave it the professional polish it needed, tweaked the colors, and then we locked it in. The Honor and Remember flag's design is distinctive yet simple. Each detail on the flag symbolizes an important part of the overall meaning of the flag's message. Remember, guys, this isn't something that anybody had seen before. I'm hoping that this comes back. Come back to me. I've lost my visual. I'm going to keep reading in the hopes that it pops back, but you can hear the audio. Last week it stopped on me. The finished flag design was extraordinary, better than I could have imagined. Each element projected explanation without words. Instantly recognizable, there was nothing else like it. When I began to share the image, the positive reaction was impressive. I would later hear that the Department of Heraldry would tell one of our manufacturers this was a perfectly designed flag. One aspect I should point out is that some have asked whether the center image of the folded U.S. flag has special meaning. I found many drawings of folded flags, but I did not want to use someone else's depictions. I instead took a picture of the flag that had covered Tony's casket, reverently and respectfully folded and handed to us at his burial. That photograph was used in the final design, thus allowing me the comfort of knowing that a piece of Tony is included in every tribute. Of course, if you notice, the flag's stars are askew and not evenly arranged. I took flack for that and, of course, started to reconsider. I thought about it for a brief moment until I realized that no flag was ever folded perfectly. Wars were not perfect, and each service member certainly was not perfect. This folded flag was as close to reality as possible. It would stay as is. In the fourth month of 2008, within 3 months of startup, Honor and Remember officially became a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The flag itself would be officially protected by trademark and copyright. In the spirit of ethics and transparency, I assigned the trademark and all rights to this flag name and design over to the organization. The graphics team that assisted signed off all rights as well. No one in the organization would ever personally make a penny from the creation of this precious flag. Additionally, the Honor and Remember organization joined charity watchdog groups that inspect and oversee charitable accountability. I wanted to be certain that our organization would hold up to any scrutiny and remain completely transparent long after I've left this earth. This organization and the flag were the legacy of remembrance for which I was looking. Finally, with the responsibility of protecting the meaning and purpose of this symbol and the millions of lives it represents, it was decided that the Honor and Remember flag would never be made outside of the United States. I'm going to stop reading there. I don't know if this has continued. It hasn't stopped. I think it's still broadcasting, but maybe we don't have a picture. That's okay. I wanted to give you a little bit about the flag and the importance of it and all that I did to put into place the protection of this flag and having it made in the United States. That was one of the things that I know that the POW/MIA organizations failed to do, was to protect their image, to protect that icon that became so precious to where it is now. And now it's even made overseas in China and Vietnam. And honestly, it's been cannibalized. Its colors have been changed, and it has had many faces, unfortunately. And so just to give you a little bit of knowledge about the flag, the importance of it, and why it exists. I'm going to go back to HR 1363. It is our goal as an organization that we have this flag adopted and flown all over the United States so that every family member might be acknowledged for their sacrifice, that we might all come together and send one unified message, a message that we will never forget. You know, I've said this before, we all say it. We say it, the politicians especially say it. No, we will never forget, because it's an easy thing to say. It's a comforting phrase, and it's important that we say it. We will never forget. But it has no teeth. It has no teeth. Not in and of itself. Not in the fact that there are so many out there that need to know that we haven't forgotten. So many beyond just the parents who may have a visit to Washington, or the spouses, or even the children. There are so many more even beyond that. The reason enough would be for them, but there are so many family members beyond them. We must, as a community, as a national community, stand up and be appreciative of the sacrifice that has been made for us and that continues to be made for us, and the families that are here grieving. Would you join me? Would you fly the Honor and Remember flag? Would you reach out to your representatives and let them know that this is important to adopt? And would you sign that declaration? Declarationofremembrance.com. Sign that declaration and make a stand for those millions that have stood up for you. God bless you. Have a good night. I hope that this actually went through. If not, I may have to do it again. Take care.